very much, Chair. I beg to move that the House has considered government support for community theatre, and it really is a pleasure to bring this debate today with you in the Chair, Sir Jeremy. Community theatres across the country empower young people and enable them to find and amplify their voices. It's also wonderful fun to be part of the audience. I'm going to make the case for community theatres to be treated as an asset and one that saves money for our communities. I'm also going to make the case for those community theatres to be able to access capital funding to keep the show on the road. And because of the important role local councils play supporting community theatre, I'm going to make the case for sustainable funding for local government. In my own Hazel Grove constituency, the Forum Theatre in Romiley provides enriching opportunities to many young people from different backgrounds, including those who would otherwise not naturally feel able to get involved with the arts, as well as those with physical or learning disabilities. And I've had the very great pleasure of attending a whole range of performances at the theatre. The standard of production is extraordinarily high, and it's especially uplifting to see the progression of some of the young people moving from the chorus to a leading role, and then, for a few, to some of the country's top drama schools.
We've done really good way.
I will happily give way.
Can I commend Honourable Lady for Hazel Grove for bringing this forward? And I spoke to Honourable Lady beforehand. We're all very fortunate. I'm very fortunate to have the Webb Theatre in Newton Ards as a local theatre. It gives people the opportunities that Honourable Lady has referred to. Does she agree with me? It binds people together. And yet, with the escalation of costs, it's getting harder for theatres to keep the lights on. So, does the Honourable Lady not further agree that arts funding has been put in the back burner for far too long, and it's now time to put it back so that the community theatre space can be at the forefront of this regeneration and rejuvenation of what the Honourable Lady very clearly wants to have? Thank you.
Well, I'm grateful to the Honourable Gentleman for his intervention. I obviously agree with him about the important role that community theatres play within our communities, the importance of that clarity on longer term funding. I'll make some comments. And as he rightly says, some of the increasing costs that these theatres are facing. When energy bills go up for us heating our homes, they go up significantly more for theatres. And as I'll come on to, some of the capital spending that is needed really puts at risk some of this community cohesion work that theatre can really do. And the theatre in my own constituency, the Forum Theatre, faces an uncertain future because it's got rack in the roof. It was forced to close while temporary repairs were made, and it was repaired with a temporary lifespan of 5 years after a phenomenal campaign by the local community and local councillors pushed the local council to provide some funding. The theatre is thankfully back open, and it's back at the heart of the Romiley community. Last April, the estimates for the cost of the work to fully remove the rack panels at the Forum and deliver a permanent fix was forecast to be up to £2 million. The work involves removing the current roof coverings, removing each of the rack panels individually and disposing of them, then creating a new roof structure, making it watertight. And although this work would disrupt activities at the theatre, it is crucial to securing the long-term future of this beloved community asset. The Forum Theatre is owned by Stockport Council, and we all in this room know that there is a crisis in local government funding. And local councils across the country, including my own Stockport Council, are having to deal with severe budgetary constraints. Simply put, Stockport Council does not have the funds for the necessary building renovations at the Forum Theatre to permanently remove the rack. And undoubtedly, any money invested in local councils to support our cultural landmarks is money well spent and will pay dividends.
On that point, would my friend give way?
I will happily give way.
Thank you. I thank my honourable friend for giving way. Does she agree with me that had previous Conservative governments valued community theatres like Clare Hall and the Martletts Hall in my constituency of Mid Sussex, my constituents would still be enjoying all the benefits that arts and social spaces provide, and our council wouldn't be facing the invidious choice between non-viable community spaces and entirely commercially led offers that simply can't put the performing arts front and centre while staying financially afloat?
So my honourable friend makes a really powerful point about the perilous state of local government finances and the knock-on impact that has for the assets and the services provided by councils, and also the way that councils can support some of that really important work that goes on in our community that's quite difficult to measure the impact of bringing people together. I always feel that we look at the arts as a cost rather than as an asset and as a way of actually reducing costs in other areas, and I'll come on in some of my remarks to make some of those points. The forum also serves as a hub for over 30 local organisations. There's dance schools, community groups, bands, comedians and schools use the space, and they rely heavily on the forum for their events because it's an affordable space rather than going into town and paying the price for city centre venues. And its usage is a testament to both its importance and its significance. The level of activity it sees not only enriches the cultural life of my constituents and much more widely, but it also stimulates the local economy. A study by the Society of London Theatre shows that for every £1 spent on a theatre ticket, £1.40 is spent on the local economy. This boost is vital for the many independent shops and cafes, and indeed wine bars in Romiley, who benefit from the theatre's bustling schedule. But at the centre of these statistics are the real lives of those in my community who benefit from the forum. The theatre brings together children and young people from different backgrounds, from those who are more affluent to those who are currently living in the care of the local authority. And at the theatre, they grow together with shared passions. I will give way.
I thank the Honourable Lady for bringing this debate. The Forum Theatre in her constituency sounds like a venue you'll have to put on my to-visit list because she's making such a great pitch for it. And I'm very lucky in my constituency to have the Rep Theatre, the Mitchell Arts Centre, the work that Restoke do at Fenton Town Hall, and the Dipping House, which is a community venue running high-profile performances. But what those venues also do is not only bring opportunities for local people to engage in the arts, but also to hear their own stories reflected back by seeing the stories of our community played out on stage. And would she agree with me that those sorts of stories are often overlooked by national production companies, and if we do away with the community theatres, we end up losing our own history to what is commercially viable nationally?
No, I strongly agree with the point that the Honourable Gentleman makes, and I remember growing up with this accent and really welcoming it when somebody sounded like me on the BBC or somebody sounded like me in a theatre production. And I think it matters to all of us that we can see ourselves, we can hear ourselves, and we can hear our stories being told. And I think community theatre plays a hugely important role in that, and local theatre plays a hugely important role in that. It also plays a really important role, I think, in saving the public purse money. So we've got so many young people waiting for an assessment, waiting for treatment. They're on a CAMHS, Children and Adolescent Mental Health Services waiting list. They might be out of mainstream school. They might be struggling as they're living with some sort of mental health condition. And participating in the life of a theatre, whether it's in a production, front of house or back of house, can really make people feel like they belong. It can help them find their voice, and it can really support them, thereby reducing the cost to the state in other areas. And I think it also offers invaluable education opportunities. At the Forum, local schools benefit from theatre experience days where students can learn about career opportunities in the creative industries, and this can be life-changing. I'm thinking of an example of David, who discovered his passion for lighting and sound design during a school visit. And when he left school, he became the theatre's very first apprentice, allowing him to master his passion over a 2-year programme. NK Theatre Arts, the charity which operates the theatre, also ensures that financial hardship doesn't prevent participation. And the theatre vowed never to turn down a potential member due to financial difficulties. Recently, a long-time member of a much-loved drama class stopped attending because her family was experiencing a tough time financially, and they decided they could no longer afford it. But the theatre team pushed through and insisted that the member continue and only pay what she could.
Will the Honourable Friend give way?
I will happily give way.
I thank my Honourable Friend for giving way, and her passion for our own local theatre is really clear to see. You mentioned about the form of ownership of the theatre, charity in this case. In Carshalton, we have the Crier Arts Centre, which is a local theatre owned and operated by the local community. The company was specifically set up for that purpose. Would you agree with me that this type of ownership structure should be encouraged by the government and supported as much as possible?
Yeah, I'm grateful to my honourable friend for his intervention. I strongly agree that the assets that are owned and run by the community are a really powerful way of empowering that community to deliver what it needs. The Forum Theatre is owned by the council but is run by NK Theatre Arts, and I'll come on to how that some of the challenges that funding model presents. But I think communities being involved in improving their communities is the best way to bring about the best for a community.
Will my honourable friend give way on that point?
I will, on that point.
As my honourable friend knows, I'm a keen supporter of the arts, especially community theatre. So will my honourable friend join me in congratulating Chichester Community Development Trust, who have managed to secure National Lottery funding, which will redevelop a part of the former hospital at Graylingwell and create a community hub that will be used as a rehearsal space for creatives and for community theatres in the Chichester area. But will she also agree with me that sustainable funding going forward, once that creative hub is up and running, is going to be key to making sure it's there for future generations?
Yeah, I'd certainly join with her in congratulating the team in her constituency. Having participated in some bids for lottery funding, I know it's not always an easy process. And so they've done very well to have success there. I also know that community hubs that are so much more than just a rehearsal space, they bring light to a community, they bring laughter to a community, and they bring so much warmth. And so I absolutely agree with her comments in that regard. All honourable members will know that theatres are facing higher and higher running costs. If we think about the impact of higher energy bills on households, the cost of heating a very large, high-ceilinged space costs even more. Its energy bills are increasing, rises in wages and national insurance for staff just means there's less and less money available to spend on improving things around and about the theatre. And I spoke to NK Theatre Arts, and they summarised my point perfectly. They said, and I quote, "Although it's great to put on a brilliant show, it isn't really about the shows and the events. It's all about the social benefits this brings to the children, young people and adults, all of our partners who use the Forum Theatre, but it needs investment. And this investment would be its lifeline." So I want to appeal to the Minister and to the Government to take action to support councils to maintain and renovate cultural buildings such as community theatres. The previous government provided schools and colleges with the funding that they needed, more or less, to permanently remove the RAC. Considering the hugely important service that our cultural buildings provide and the amount they save the broader public purse, I think it just makes sense for the government to provide similar funding to remove RAC from community theatres across the UK. Romiley Forum is, of course, not the only theatre in Hazel Grove. We also boast the Carver in Marple, which, while relying solely on volunteers, has been entertaining my community since 1906, and where I've enjoyed the unforgettable Marple Gang Show. And I shouldn't forget Romiley Little Theatre, another charity that's been part of Stockport's cultural landscape for over 70 years. Without our community theatres, the immensely valuable services that organisations like NK Theatre Arts provide to young people would not be able to exist. The workshops and experiences that the theatre company offers are not only accessible ways to get involved in the arts, these services also help keep young people off the streets and involved in their local communities. Any funding for community theatre would be investing in our young people. We would be investing in our local communities, and we would be investing in the UK's proud and storied cultural heritage, providing opportunities for the very many extraordinarily talented young people in our constituencies who may not otherwise be able to get involved with their passions. I'm asking government to support community theatre and treat community theatres like an asset which bring money into our communities while simultaneously saving money from the public purse, whether it's CAMS or for young people living with anxiety or day centres or other activities for those with learning disabilities. I'm also asking for government to make funding available for capital repairs for theatres like the Forum in Romiley, like the DFE did for schools and colleges, to give a secure future to these vital community assets. And, although I'm aware it might not be in the Minister's gift alone, I'm asking for local government to be given clarity over its long-term funding so that we don't lose the local connection to the arts that so many of us cherish.